Donald Trump has accused both Israel and Iran of violating a ceasefire that he had brokered just hours after it came into effect this morning. The American president said he was not happy with either country, especially Israel, whom he claims, quote, unloaded right after agreeing to the deal. Israel said it had shot down 2 Iranian missiles and ordered its military to respond. Iran has denied launching any missiles at Israel after the start of the ceasefire. Our World News correspondent Joe Inwood has this report.
It has been a dizzying, head-spinning 24 hours when it looked like this war might spiral out of control, before a moment of calm, hope, and now uncertainty. Israel had widened its offensive, targeting symbols of regime power and control, such as Evin Prison, where British woman Nazanin Zaghari Ratcliffe was held, along with other political prisoners. Iran responded with this: ballistic missiles launched towards a key US base in Qatar. This was Tehran's response to Sunday's targeting of its nuclear facilities by the US. On the streets of Tehran, a small but jubilant crowd gathered to celebrate the attacks.
We are defending our land, Iran, and I'm saying it now. You hit us, we'll hit you back. Again and again, until you understand this is Iran, the land of lions.
But shortly after, a shock response from President Trump. He said they knew about the attacks in advance and declared a ceasefire to start within 6 hours. He congratulated both sides on having the stamina, courage and intelligence to end what he called the 12-day war.
Just seconds ago, the president went to truce.
His vice president was live on TV when the news broke.
And I think the president really hit the reset button and said, look, let's actually produce long-term peace for the region. That's always been his goal. I actually think when we look back, we will say the 12-day war was an important reset moment for the entire region.
In Iran, state TV declared it a victory. The newsreader saying the ceasefire came about because of the attack on the US airbase, which he claimed had been utterly destroyed. Both sides were given 6 hours to complete what the president called their final missions. What followed was one of the heaviest nights of attacks in Tehran of the war. While in Israel, more missiles, including one that landed in the town of Beersheba, killing at least 4 people. Then, in Israel and Iran, for a moment there was a pause. But it seems it may not hold. Within hours, Israel had accused Iran of launching a missile and promised retaliation. Tehran denied being responsible for any launches. The man who had announced the ceasefire met the news with fury.
We basically have 2 countries that have been fighting so long and so hard that they don't know what they're doing. Do you understand that?
Donald Trump declared history would know this as the 12-day war. He may yet need to revise that figure. Joe Inwood, BBC News.
Well, let's turn now to our chief North America correspondent, Gary O'Donoghue, who is live with us from Washington, D.C., and our correspondent in Jerusalem, IRNA Wells. Gary, I'll turn to you first. After sending in the B-2 bombers over the weekend, Donald Trump dropped the F-bomb. Our jaws dropped. What do you make of that expletive-laden outburst from Donald Trump and all the social media posts since then?
Well, I mean, I have to say, you know, you don't often see him that angry, and he was really angry. And most of that was directed at Israel, actually. Most of that venom was directed at Israel. But, you know, the expletive stuff and all that, that was directed at both of them. So there's clearly a lot of frustration. I suspect, you know, he probably, you know, if you look around at conflicts around the world, ceasefires are often quite messy when they start. So he may not have been, you know, overly aware of that, but he wanted to send a very clear message. And we know that shortly after that, he spoke to Benjamin Netanyahu, and the readout from the White House says he was extremely firm and direct, and that would have conveyed some sort of message. And then he was pretty much quickly after that, straight after that, on social media, saying it's all fine, the airplanes are turning round, they're going to give a little wave as they leave Iran, and we're all good. And he's been echoing that sort of sentiment ever since, saying there's one just now that's come out that says both Israel and Iran wanted to stop the war, and then he says he was grateful that he was the one that was able to destroy the nuclear facilities. So Where are we? So we're in a ceasefire that, you know, may be firming up now. Let's see. But a ceasefire isn't a peace. And now the push will be to see if there's any momentum towards substantive negotiations, which is, you know, what he has said and the administration has said they want all along.
Ione, it's been an astonishing 12 hours, but also a bloody 12 hours on both sides. Just take us through the fatalities and the fresh victims of this war.
That's right, Mark. Before this ceasefire was announced, despite allegations after from both sides that the other had broken it, there was continuing back and forth missile strikes, as we've seen for the last 12 days. In Israel, an Iranian missile hit in the south of the country in Beersheba. It's reported that has killed at least 4 people, including an 18-year-old IDF soldier who was doing combat training in the region. In Tehran, people have reported one of the most intense nights so far of Israeli missiles hitting Iran. It's reported there that at least 9 people have been killed, including another nuclear scientist. So before this ceasefire that Donald Trump announced was put into place, it's clear that these strikes were continuing through the night.
And Gary, you alluded to it there, but beyond the ceasefire, there was also a lot of anger from Donald Trump about the way in which media outlets, in his view, downplayed the extent of the damage inflicted on Iran's nuclear sites by the American bombing campaign. Just talk us through that and what we know at this stage about the damage that was indeed inflicted.
Well, I mean, we've still not had any further update from the Pentagon, particularly. I mean, they've said, and they said the day after, that it was, you know, the battle damage assessment was ongoing. That still seems to be the case. You know, it is plainly common sense that assessing damage that took place underground with these huge bunker busters is not something that's necessarily very easily to do from satellite imagery and things like that. It will depend on other forms of intelligence. So we're waiting to see. And of course, you know, the infrastructure at Fordo and Isfahan and Natanz is one thing. But what about the enriched uranium and whether that was moved out of Isfahan and put somewhere else or distributed? That's a huge issue because, you know, that's something that could easily end up on a black market somewhere if the Iranians don't hold on to it, or if it's, you know, people start to try and monetize and all that kind of thing. You can imagine it going to other non-state actors, and then you're into a whole different ballpark. So there are lots of questions. You know, this is not just done, this nuclear destruction of the nuclear facilities. There's a whole raft of other questions that follow it that they will have to address at some point and address with evidence.
Ione, Benjamin Netanyahu might have taken quite an earful there from Donald Trump in that phone call, but he presumably is going to frame this as mission accomplished and a big victory for Israel.
Yeah, it's interesting that when that ceasefire was first announced by Donald Trump, the statement that we then had from the Israeli government shortly after that, where they appeared to be agreeing with the terms of the ceasefire initially, they said as part of that statement that they had concluded their goals, that they had removed the threat both of Iran's nuclear program but also of its missile program too. That was sort of part of their initial statement. That was, of course, before they then accused Iran of breaking the ceasefire. Iran denied that, accused Israel of breaking the ceasefire. So we then had that back and forth. But certainly before that, Israel had claimed this as a bit of a victory, saying they had achieved these goals. Now, after those accusations that Iran had broken the ceasefire, Israel's defense minister said that they would use that as now an opportunity to retaliate further, saying that they would be targeting regime targets as well. We have, as Gary touched on there, since had this call between Benjamin Netanyahu and Donald Trump. After that, the Israeli government have said that they have refrained from further missile attacks for now towards Iran. Iran's president has also said that they will stick to this ceasefire as long as Israel does. So we have this situation now where both sides are saying that they will stick to a ceasefire as long as the other does too. What we don't know is what the terms of this ceasefire actually are. As Gary alluded to as well, this doesn't mean peace. We don't know whether there are now going to be further long-term negotiations taking place. But for now, as I say, both sides saying they'll stick to it, but the next hours and days will tell.
Indeed. Ione in Jerusalem, Gary in Washington, thanks very much indeed. A very fragile ceasefire and still big questions as to what comes next. We'll continue to try to answer them from here in the Middle East. But for now, Matthew, back to you in London.